Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Talking City podcast with myself, Alex James, and City writer Tyrone Marshall, where we'll be straight into the Derby Day delight from the Etihad on Sunday afternoon. But first, just a quick word from our sponsors, NordVPN. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/Talking City. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And the link is in the podcast episode description box. There we go. Formalities over. Let's dive into Derby Day. And ultimately, nice and comfortable. What were we worried about?
Pretty easy.
Donnarumma settled in. Looked like he'd been there all season. 3-0. Jeremy Doku suddenly has end product. And life's good.
Yeah, I think we need to wipe the podcast from last week from the internet archives, don't we? Make sure that no one's downloaded them and get rid of them. Yeah, what were we ever worried about? Yeah, absolutely routine, wasn't it? Really. If Haaland's first shot within 20 seconds felt kind of like the writing was on the wall. Then United had a bit of a spell after that, but I mean, it as a day, it couldn't really have gone much better, could it? Like you say, I thought Donnarumma was excellent and unfussy and just simple with everything he did. Kind of what we said on Friday. City sign a world-class goalkeeper and play him in goal. Shocker. Like, there's no need to overthink these things. He knows what he's doing. Haaland, I thought Haaland was great, really good defensively as well. Really mucking in and getting involved. Foden getting the goal. Doku getting 2 assists when we spoke last week about how he needs to improve his numbers. It all worked pretty well, didn't it? And it feels odd looking back now when, maybe we took the wrong tone, but I think it was still true. And I did Radio Manchester before the game and said it, that it felt like Radio Manchester to me, who's under more pressure. And I said in a weird way, I think United are under more pressure, but City need the win more because of the situation they're in and the fact that they've got Arsenal coming up. And looking back now, you think, yeah, maybe, we were doomsdaying scenarios last week, weren't we, about City not winning this game and then losing to Arsenal and having 1 win in 5. And, I did caveat that. I'm pretty sure I didn't. I meant to. I'm pretty sure I did. With the possibility that City could easily win both of these games. Like, it wouldn't be a shock if City beat United and beat Arsenal away. And that's the potential scenario now, which would throw them probably right back into the title race. So, yeah, a very good day.
So what you're saying is this time City are back?
No, I'm in the middle somewhere. I'm in the middle. We've had this, haven't we, ever since that Juventus game? Back, not back, back, not back. And then Brighton interrupted it because it was double not back, but now they are back. But as I said after Wolves, they've beaten a poor team. They've played 2 poor teams this season and have beaten them comfortably. They've played 2 good teams this season with good managers and have lost to them both. So, it was a good win. But this derby is, I wrote about it in my match piece yesterday that this derby is not what it is it? I don't think at the moment. I think it's
what it used to be. Not what it used to be.
Not what it used to be. It is what it is. It's not what it used to be. You think back to those kind of early 2010 games when City were like, the new kid on the block, and United were clearly worried about the fact they were coming, and you had Ferguson as kind of like the defender in chief. And then you kind of had a bit of it with Mourinho and Guardiola, but it never really took off then. Yeah. But the last few years, it's...
Well, that's United, though, isn't it?
I think it's down to United. It's had those cup finals, hasn't it? But it feels like it's a lull at the moment. And given it was an international break and you could have had a 2-week build-up to it, it felt like a pretty low-key build-up to it. Then you get to the game and it's just like, God, these lot are garbage. These lot are rubbish. It's not a derby worthy of the name, really. And I know they won there last year, and I know they've had some decent results at the Etihad every now and again. But it doesn't feel like a worthy contest at the moment.
No, it felt like City, top 4 potential title challenges against a mid-table team. And if Roy Keane hadn't been on Sky Sports trying his best to hem it up and encourage people to smash into each other in the opening 5 minutes and find a bit of the spirit of yesteryear in terms of that United kind of tenacity, that's exactly what it would have come across as well, because City were superior in pretty much every area, and they weren't flawless. I thought they gave the ball away cheaply at times, particularly in the first half. But they were streets ahead of United, and didn't really think. I know Donnarumma made that sensational save from Mbeumo, but other than that, struggling to remember too many occasions where Donnarumma made any saves, and certainly can't remember too many occasions where City were looked vulnerable.
No, I guess it was a flurry towards the end of kind of United half chances, but that was at 3-0 and the game was all done and dusted. And it was just comfortable, really, I think. There was never a moment where you thought City were under pressure. United never really put them under pressure or felt like they were going to score. And it's it kind of feels the way with these games at the moment. Like United might sneak a win, a back to the wall, counter-attacking win or something like that. But if City win the derby, they tend to win it easily.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they did. And, it's a good description. It's almost like maybe it's kind of like Liverpool-Everton, where one side are just clearly far superior to the other, and the inferior team might win occasionally. But when you watch it, it's very obvious which is the better team, and that's always going to be Liverpool in that instance. And that's kind of where this rivalry is now, that you watch it and it's like, well, if both teams play to their maximum ability here, there's only going to be one winner, and that's Manchester City. Because like you say, City are one of the best 3 teams in England, potential title winners, won 4 titles in a row until last season. And the other team are a laughingstock, aren't they? Who, seem to accepted mediocrity now and are embracing mediocrity. So, it was a great win, a great day when everything went right. But it's not, beating Manchester United isn't what it used to be, is it? But you can only beat what's put in front of you.
And I think the things we spoke about as, I guess, areas of concern were if was Donnarumma going to play, obviously he did, and how would that impact City? And then the right back position, which, I kind of said they need to play John Stones out there if he's fit. Kusanov
You meant Kusanov, didn't you?
Well, it's for the same reasons.
Yeah.
To play a more, I guess, more solid defensive option there. And I thought Kusanov played pretty well. And that all passed off seamlessly. There was no histrionics from Donnarumma. Bayern was almost in trouble in the first 5 minutes. Not even that, with a sort of rush of blood with a pass back. Donnarumma just looked like he'd been in goal forever and a day at City, and there didn't seem to be any kind of defensive issues. Considering Guardiola's playing his first game of the season, Nico O'Reilly's in at left back, Kusanov's in at right back. Like, that's not a familiar back four.
No.
And you've got a new goalkeeper, and City just adapted, which says a little bit about United and how poor they were at even trying to exploit that. But if you're Pep Guardiola, you're pretty pleased with your afternoon's work there, and you're pretty pleased with the decision making, which bodes well going forward. Because if you've got Kusanov as an option at right back and potentially Stones, and obviously Nunes and Lewis, doesn't look so much of a problem as maybe it did before the weekend. It still doesn't feel like a long-term fix, that, but
no. That's 4 Premier League games and 3 different starters at right back now. But like you say, there are options there. I've talked about Kusanov ever since the summer as being an option there, purely because he brings that pace that Walker had. And City, the high line that City play, it feels like they always need a fast defender, and Kusanov is basically the only fast defender they've got.
Yeah.
So it feels in a way like you kind of need to get him in the team, and maybe playing him there is the way to do it. He was good. Guardiola talked about sometimes about like his energy gets him into trouble, and I think that foul on Doku that gave United a free kick on Dorgu, that gave United a free kick right on the edge of the box is probably an example.
But he must have made up.
He made up loads of ground. But then instead of like saying, right, I got back and jockeying into position, he made up loads of ground and then just basically like body checked him and like was like, have some of that. But that's kind of like why City fans love him as well. Like, I think he's really been taken to people's hearts at City. I was looking back today on, I couldn't remember the exact story, but I remember Tottenham away in February last year when Guardiola had talked about him quite affectionately in the press conference afterwards, and it was that he turned up for the trip to Tottenham without a wash bag and without a toothbrush, and basically just turned up with nothing, and was like, oh yeah, I forgot all that. And I think Pep was saying that's like why we all love him, basically. But also, like 2.5, 3 years ago, he was like still not playing professional football in Uzbekistan. Like, his rise has been incredible, and I do think that pace is a worthy option at right back, and he'll probably play a fair chunk of games there this season. And maybe, it never got mentioned. I wondered pre-match whether that pace, whether he was in the team because there was a new keeper, because Donnarumma's, one clear difference between Ederson and Donnarumma is the starting position. It's going to be a lot deeper, and City is still going to play the high line, so maybe there's more of a need to get that pace in the team, which is maybe why Kusanov got the nod and might get the nod more games now. But United never managed to expose that issue. And Donnarumma, he started really well, didn't he? That save from Sesko, which it was a kind of a funny shot and save, and it didn't really look like it was threatening, but then it was like
it looked a bit clumsy almost, but
it was effective in that it was going into the corner, and then like this just massive right arm came and plucked it away, and he was really good from the set pieces that United had. Like,
and there'd been a bit of concern, I think, there certainly in that Italy game that he'd played in.
When he punched one into his own net, didn't he?
Israel. He didn't look at all comfortable from set pieces there. And I think there was some suggestion in France pre-Donnarumma arriving that, considering his sizable frame at 6'4", that isn't perhaps the area of expertise you would expect it to be. But he looked really confident. He came for a couple. He got good punches on a couple. Really assured display. He goes long more than... He goes long without the accuracy of Edison. There were a couple of times where City just gave up possession because he went 70 yards for, I guess, territory, if nothing else. Accomplished and difficult to see Trafford getting back in now. And that save from Mbeumo.
That's a phenomenal save, that.
How many goalkeepers? I mean, Donnarumma might only save that 3 times out of 100, but most goalkeepers aren't getting near that.
No, well, I was right behind that in the press box, and that was a sensational save. I mean, it's a couple of things there from what you just said. Firstly, I think we need to measure him because, I think you call him 6'4". Wikipedia, I think, says he's 6'5".
Yeah, I must admit, I haven't measured him.
No, well, I think we need to. Someone needs to.
Could do with getting him and Trafford back to back, really, as well.
So Trafford's an inch taller than him, but you look at them and you're like I don't know. Like, he's obviously well built as well, isn't he? Where Trafford's like obviously a bit skinnier, but he just looks massive. Like, and then you even like Guardiola last week was asked about him in his press conference and was like, he's huge. But you don't say that about Trafford. And I don't know, Donnarumma just has this like imposing thing where he does just look massive. And maybe bringing him in. I mean, there seems to be a bit of a theme. And then Thomas Tuchel mentioned it. And now it's all anyone's spoken about for a week is how like set pieces are back, long balls back, long throws are back. Like, I'm not sure they are, but because Tuchel mentioned it, it seems to have like dominated the week. And obviously you are seeing a lot of long throws in the Premier League. I mean, I watched Brentford on Saturday night, and they're the experts at long throws, aren't they? And they got their equaliser from a long throw against Chelsea. But that puts a keeper under pressure, and a keeper like Donnarumma is just going to come and punch everything clear from long throws. So, maybe it's an acceptance that he might not be as great with 70-yard passes, but he can dominate his box if we are going to get more kind of set piece threat this season, more long throws. Maybe you want a keeper like that. But yeah, he was exceptional, wasn't he?
What was the biggest difficult question to answer? Because your player ratings, I think, had 4 or 5 at 8 out of 10, competing for man of the match. I think Haaland got man of the match officially. What was the biggest sort of personal positive? Was it Donnarumma? Was it Kushnov? Was it Doku? Was it Haaland? Was it Foden?
I don't know. I don't know if I could pick one, really. Probably not. If you're talking about a positive, probably not Haaland, because he's been doing that this season. He has looked. I know he missed a few chances at Brighton, but he has looked on it this season, I think.
I guess the biggest positive going into Napoli and Arsenal is Haaland is banging the groove there. And if Haaland's banging the groove, City aren't losing many games.
No.
Or maybe the fact that Foden...
I think Foden, it would probably be Foden for me. I think it's huge that Doku got 2 assists and looked good. And we've spoken about how Doku needs to increase his numbers. But,
he's been listening.
And he has been listening. Hello, Jeremy. I think the baptism went well last night, if you're watching again. We need to see that more often. He's done it yesterday. Fantastic. Let's him do it against Napoli, against Arsenal, against Burnley, and so on, and build up those goals and assists so that he's getting 10 of each a season.
Interestingly, I think he's had, which I'm doing a piece on not literally as we speak, but I think he's had more assists than any City player since his debut from open play, and he's only behind De Bruyne in total assists since Doku's first season, which is 2 seasons and 4 games. So there is there is a bit of end product there. I think it's just because he gets in those positions so often.
Yeah,
that you feel
kind of want
I think he's got
more.
16 assists.
16 assists. I think it's 61, 62
Maybe,
Premier League
yeah.
games, something like that. So yeah, that's a pretty good
It's not
ratio.
bad. It's maybe not as bad as perhaps you think it.
No, maybe
think
not.
The numbers are gonna
maybe
be
not.
lower,
I think you probably want 10 to 12 assists a season from him in the Premier League minimum. That's probably he's just under that level at the moment, I guess, with 16 and 61. But yeah, I think goals is maybe a big thing as well. Like he needs more. Maybe it's goals more than assists. He needs to get in those areas to score the tap-ins and score the easy goals and things like that. But maybe, I think the biggest positive you'd probably have to say is Foden, I think, because
playing inside looked like it helped him a lot as well.
It did. And I thought, Guardiola's been really interested on him this week. We spoke on Friday. Oh, we didn't speak on it because it was in the Sunday section, wasn't it? But I asked him about Foden on Friday at the press conference for the Sunday papers, and he was really good then, wasn't he? And kind of said, well, his first words were, he's the first one I look to, like to kind of bring that spark back, and spoke about how they missed him in the final third. And then there was a really good bit yesterday when he was asked about him and he said, I like the players that play behind the striker, but so many of them play the pass and then stop and go, oh, look at that lovely pass I just played. And he was like, Phil plays the pass and then gets to the penalty spot like an animal because he wants the goal. And I thought that was interesting, quite a good description. And that is what City have missed. We've spoken so often recently about goals. And yes, Harden looks on it. That's great. But if Haaland gets 10 more than last season in the league and everyone else reproduces the same numbers, they won't win the league. They don't think it's enough. That would only be 80 odd goals. This day and age, you probably need 93 plus to win the league, I think. So they need someone to step up. And Foden has always been the most obvious. And it kind of showed, Guardiola said a couple of times this year that he's smiling more. He looks back at it and back on it. And it was interesting that he played centrally and Bernardo was on the right, because it is kind of like, it's keys to the attack, isn't it, really? Yeah. Like playing in that role. And now that, you think back to that 23-24 season, he looked ready to take over from De Bruyne. And then last season, he very much didn't. But now De Bruyne has gone, and it's kind of like, you need to be there.
Yeah,
like,
and Cherky's injured.
Cherky's injured. And it's kind of like, if you're going to do it, Phil, you've got to do it now. This is the moment. So that was great to see, and it wasn't just a goal. I thought he was brilliant throughout the whole game, really. He's probably the biggest positive for me.
And that him playing centrally, that seemed, like you said, that seemed like a no-brainer. That just seemed inevitable that he was going to come in and play in that role. And obviously hasn't happened for on-pitch and off-pitch reasons, really. But he's now got an opportunity with, I guess, Marmoush and Cherky are probably the contenders, if you like, and potentially Bernardo, depending on the sort of makeup of that midfield. Marmoush and Cherky are both out for a period of time, 4-6 weeks. Now's his opportunity, isn't it, to kick on, to find his form, find his feet, and kind of produce what he did on Sunday in big games on a regular basis.
Yeah, 100%. And it was, we've just been talking before we came on air about Foden, and I said that in his Sky interview yesterday, he said like how the criticism he gets affects him, and like he sees the criticism and everything's negative, and that's kind of the society we live in. But that's clearly a player who's seeing criticism of him. And Doku spoke in the mix zone, and he even raised it and said, Phil takes criticism. I can't remember his exact words, but it was essentially Phil takes criticism badly or gets affected by criticism. And it's kind of easy to forget that, we put these players on a pedestal. They are just the same as us. Like, they're going to have the same thoughts. Like, if I read the comments and someone criticised me, I'd probably be like, well, that's annoying. And you also need to change your byline, Alex, because you've logged in from your work account. But I'd be like, it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's human nature.
It's human nature to be affected by it. And
it was telling, I thought, yesterday as well, that during his Sky interview, he mentioned that he reads a lot of stuff and it's been negative. And I can't remember who it was doing the interview, said, well, it won't be tomorrow or something like that. And Foden said, well, you never know. To the point where it was like, even though he's just had a starring role in a derby win, he's still, that speaks as, I mean, he's probably right. There probably is going to be some, because there's so much written and said about the City now.
Yeah. But also, maybe it's not just written, it's looking through social media.
Yeah, that's what I mean, really.
You see all the great mentions, and then there's one about something he did in the game that someone's annoyed about or something like that. Or for whatever reason, people are annoyed about it. And you see that one comment and become fixated on it, and it's easily done. But yeah, I was going to say the way to avoid that criticism, and we were speaking before, the interview, the Mix Zone interview he did for the FA Cup final was really open and revealing last year, when he said about how he'd had some difficulties off the pitch and some mental struggles off the pitch last season, and Guardiola spoken about how they want him to be happy and he plays his best football when he's happy. And if he is affected by criticism, the best way to avoid criticism is just play like you did on Sunday, because there won't be any serious criticism from performances like that. And if you can reproduce that every week, then you've got a totally different player back on your hands. And you look at that squad, he is the one player, I think, that you think he's on it. If he's on 23, 24 levels compared to last year.
Yeah, he takes City to another level, doesn't he?
He takes City to another level. He's the one that can make a really big difference here.
And we've spoken there about sort of Foden filling the De Bruyne mantle. And we're going to get Foden against De Bruyne, probably in the same positions on Thursday night. And that's a brilliant narrative to kickstart the Champions League campaign. If you could have handpicked a game to sort of start City's campaign, Napoli with De Bruyne, Serie A champions, back at the Etihad, it's going to be some occasion, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. And I mean, there's quite a few. There's obviously a few of those with City, isn't it? With Galatasaray coming back. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold's got to go back to Liverpool. There seems to be quite a few kind of reunion narratives in the Champions League draw, so maybe they were handpicked. Yeah, it's a great. It's going to be a great game, isn't it? I think Napoli are the champions of Serie A. I think they've had a pretty good season.
I think they're 3 from 3.
They're 3 from 3 this season, haven't they? They've had a good start. There's a lot of connections there, isn't there? With Manchester alone, there's obviously De Bruyne, but then there's McTominay, who has obviously done brilliantly since he's gone from United to Napoli. There's Rasmus Højlund, who scored on his debut. I think they won AC Milan at the weekend, didn't they?
They definitely, not sure who they were playing. They definitely won.
Wasn't AC Milan, was it? I don't think. I don't know. I should have checked that before I opened my mouth and said it. But I'm sure they beat someone good away from home. And Højlund scored on his debut. He's obviously on loan, I think, from United. So there's a lot of narratives around City and United there coming to the Etihad. But De Bruyne is obviously going to be the one. It's funny how things work out, isn't it? You look back to his farewell speech in May and talking about coming to see his statue one day and how he'll be back, and now literally 4 months later, he's back.
The 5th game of the season.
Yeah, his statue's not here. Well, he's back before his statue's here. So yeah, it's funny how these things work out. But I think also he's going to have he is going to be on it for this game, isn't he? Because he made it very clear he did not agree with this decision. Yeah. It's no secret that he was not happy with the way it ended at City, that he felt he still had something to give, that he felt he should have stayed. And he essentially stayed in Europe because he felt he could still play at this level, still play at the highest level, that he wasn't ready for Saudi Arabia or the MLS or anything like that. And what better way to prove it than by coming back to the Etihad and producing a big performance in a Napoli win or a Napoli result. So, I think it's going to be a really interesting game for that. And, he's going to get a great reception, but his competitive edge is massive in it. I think De Bruyne, you see it on the pitch all the time. And I think he's going to see that game and be like, I am proving the point to you lot that this was a mistake. You should have kept me rather than letting me go. So it's going to be interesting to see how he performs.
I think it's just going to be so weird as well, seeing him in a whatever colour Napoli's white, is it? Napoli's away kit.
Not sure.
Just seeing him at the Etihad, but not in a City shirt.
Yeah.
Probably walking to the wrong dressing room before the game. And
yeah, it is going to be interesting. And obviously, I mean, kind of a shame it's so early. It would have been better. It feels like it would have been better later, just to give a bit more distance, because it is so recent that he's only just gone and had that fond farewell, and now he's back
might get it again in a knockout.
Well, it could be. Yeah, could be. I mean, they'll play Real Madrid again in the knockout, won't they, at some point?
That's true, yeah.
Whether it's before or after that, but yeah, it's certainly a possible. But yeah, it's going to be a great occasion.
And it doesn't feel like we can go through this sort of podcast episode without touching on Ricky Hatton either. Obviously, terrible news. Condolences, as everyone would be saying, to his family and to his friends and to his loved ones. But what a tribute from everyone inside the ground, really, but from City in particular. I think Pep Guardiola, you spoke to him afterwards, and he was nearly in tears before the game, judging by sort of the footage on the telly, and he was keen to speak before the game to the broadcasters as well about Ricky Hatton, and the kind of outpouring of love and emotion was, I was going to say unparalleled. It might not be unparalleled, but it was certainly, a really poignant tribute to a really well-loved and respected boxer and person.
Yeah, it was. And in a way, it was fitting that United were the opponents, because although he was, clearly a massive City fan and used to walk out to Blue Moon, he'd never hidden his allegiances, there were also a lot of United fans who loved Ricky Hatton. Yeah. You could see that on the tributes on social media. I know someone who was in the away end yesterday who went watching Hatton fights here and in America. So he almost, he was kind of like beyond the football rivalry in a way. He was perfectly happy to walk out to Blue Moon and display his City colours. But loads of Reds loved him as well, because he was just he had those everyman qualities, didn't he? That he was just like...
Just a Manchester bloke, wasn't he?
Just a proper Manchester bloke, yeah. And I think because of that reason, everyone loved him. And you could see yesterday all the United fans clapping along. I mean, you couldn't hear in the stadium what was being said. It was that loud. And like you say, Guardiola did look really emotional. And I asked him about it afterwards, and he said that, I've been here 10 years, of all the tributes, I can never remember one as intense as that. And said, he said he'd remember it for the rest of his life, and spoke very nicely about it. And yeah, it was, terrible, terrible news. A lovely tribute. But yeah, just I think he goes beyond kind of the football rivalries, didn't he? He took everyone on a journey. And you think, I put it in my match piece, 20 years since that fight against Costa Zoo at the MEN Arena. And I don't know, what was it, 20,000 people there that night?
Yeah, something like that.
If you believe everyone who said they were there now, there'd probably be 100,000 there, because it's one of the most famous sporting nights this city has ever had. And it was for an American audience as well, wasn't it? So I think the fight was midnight, 1 a.m. or something. It was really early hours. And I wasn't there. I'm not going to be one of the 100,000. But I remember watching it, and the atmosphere was off the charts that night, absolutely incredible. And in a way, I don't know, I was thinking the first sort of 10, 15 minutes yesterday, something narrative-wise nice about Foden scoring, because, maybe it's a bit of an easy comparison, but it kind of feels similar-ish to Hatton, a brilliant, brilliant sportsman from Manchester, but also he's kind of the same, everyman qualities.
Yeah,
Foden,
down to earth.
Down to earth, loves a fishing trip with his dad. There's no real airs or graces to Foden now, I don't think. And also, he spoke of the FA Cup final about those difficulties he's had. He's been pretty open and honest about life's not always a bed of roses off the pitch, no matter how good you are in your sporting arena. So, it kind of felt fitting maybe that he got the goal. Yeah, a great tribute. Hatton would have loved it. Yeah, for sure. Hatton would have loved the game. And a good, like I say, a fitting game really, and fitting opponents, because there's plenty of United fans who would have adored Ricky Hatton as well.
Yeah, very well said. And yeah, as we can only sort of reiterate our best wishes to Ricky Hatton's family and friends and loved ones, and at this difficult time and what will be a difficult period. So it feels almost frivolous to segue into thanks for watching and thanks for listening, but that's exactly what I'm going to have to do. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back on Friday to sort of catch up on everything that's gone on in the Champions League at the Etihad on Thursday night, and to look ahead to what is a massive fixture on Sunday at the Emirates against Arsenal. So thanks again, and we'll see you soon.